Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us here for this session, proactively preventing and responding to workplace bullying. So recently you may have heard of a media campaign that WorkSafe's launched. So we've got some of the posters around the place. You've got the guides in front of you. So we're embarking, I guess, on a media campaign just to raise awareness around workplace bullying, and we're here today to explore that further with a really great lineup of speakers, firstly, but importantly also to have this group work through a case study scenario as well. I've also got Julianne Buchanan from Wesfarmers. So Julianne will be speaking to us from a return to work perspective around complex claims, and also Rod Collinson, who's a partner at Page Seeger, giving us a legal perspective. So we're giving you some different perspectives of workplace bullying and what it might mean for your business. But really important today, hopefully you do walk away with some practical takeaways to be able to implement in your own workplace. It's all well and good to give you a guide, but hopefully we give you some takeaway skills as well today. So really, I guess at the pointy end of bullying quite often can be a mentally unhealthy workplace. So the little bit that I'll speak about today, and I'm Cameron Blight, I'm a Health and Safety Advisor for WorkSafe Tasmania. So our role is to go out and give advice on not just safety, but also health and safety, including some of those psychological health factors that may exist in workplaces. So I guess here, this first 20 minutes is really just talking about what is a mentally healthy workplace, how you might be able to achieve it, and really why it is important. So a little bit, just a bit of an introduction prior to moving on to Paul, who will take you through a systems-based approach to mental health in the workplace. So heads up so there are some resources around the room. So heads up for those that aren't aware, it's a program. It's what I would encourage you as one of your takeaway actions today. It takes about a minute to go back to your desk and sign up to Heads Up. If you haven't already, please take that step. It's a really important step as far as achieving that mentally healthy workplace. So it's an alliance of a number of organisations. Beyond Blue are a key driver behind it, but a number of organisations have come together to develop that resource. Being it's an online resource. The outcome of it is it's an action plan for a mentally healthy workplace. So that can happen really quickly in terms of just giving you that little bit of structure and direction for your program. So why workplace mental health is important. So this is a bit of an outline of what I'll take you through today. What is a mentally healthy workplace? Where to start? So some valuable tools and resources, and also an action plan, so identifying and prioritising those risk factors that may exist in your workplace. So just some statistics, and hopefully you can see that slide reasonably clearly. I know early on it was a little bit unclear, but nearly almost 8 Australians every single day die by suicide, and that's 2.5 times the road toll. And so it is an alarming statistic. And something really, as workplaces, we can take some action and we can show some leadership in terms of turning this really concerning statistic around. On top of that, and 8 Australians, 6 of those will be males. So again, some really concerning statistics. Almost 3 million people in Australia are living with anxiety or depression, and 1 in 6 women or 1 in 8 women will at least experience depression sometimes in their lifetime. So the statistics are really alarming, and no longer can we just can't sit on our hands. And some workplaces are quite active in this space. Others might just be starting the journey, or you might be here today to consider in terms of how to proactively respond and prevent bullying. Being a mentally healthy workplace is certainly one of those steps that you could be taking. There was a research study done in 2014 by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and it found that mental health, particularly around anxiety and depression, mental health is costing Australian employers $10.9 billion, and is affecting, at least poor mental health is affecting at least 1 in 5 employees. So Again, you might not think it's an issue in your workplace, but based on those societal facts, it is prevalent and it is an issue for many, many workplaces, if not every workplace in Australia. There's also an upside of it. There is a return on investment, again, that came about from the Price Waterhouse and Cooper study. For every dollar that you invest in mental health in your workplace, there's a $2.30 return on investment. There's a calculator that you can use on the Heads Up website, and depending on the industry, will actually vary how much that return on investment is for you. So, for example, in public administration, so in the state service, it's as high as $9 for every dollar spent. In construction, it's around $5 for every dollar spent. So there are some variances in that, but on average, across all industries, $2.30 for every dollar spent. So there is a business case as to why be that mentally healthy workplace. And at the end of the day, they're more productive and they're more profitable. So there is there's a real business case why to do it. Additionally, if we're looking at physical safety versus mental safety. So again, from a TNS research, social research project that was commissioned, here were some results that came out of here. So you can see up in the top graphic there, employees believe it's important to work in a physically safe workplace. Well, most people want to be physically safe when they go to work. And the survey showed that 76% agreed that their workplace fits that description. So almost 3/4 of workplaces, generally do show their workers that they are physically safe. There is that focus on physical safety. And when we look at a mentally healthy workplace, 91% of employees, think it's important to have a mentally healthy workplace. Yet only 52% believe that their workplace fits that description. So a huge variance there in terms of workplaces get it right with physical safety, not so much, I guess, with being that mentally healthy workplace. So again, a lot to come out of that. By the way, these slides, we will, for everyone that's registered today, we'll send out the slides. And so, I think most of the speakers are happy with that. I am, certainly, and we'll find that out as we go along. So if you're madly trying to get all the notes down or take photos, we can share those with you as well. So that's setting the scene for why. So why a mentally healthy workplace? The next bit is, well, what does it look like? So some of the things that you might be thinking, is that us? Is that our workplace? Well, a workplace that has a positive workplace culture where there's no distinction between physical and mental health. So it's treated with equality. Has policies and strategies and actions that minimise workplace risks related to mental health, build confidence and facilitate good conversations about stress, struggles and illness, supports people with mental health conditions appropriately, because again, it is prevalent. No doubt there are people within your workplace, and it's important to distinguish between mental health and mental illness. So, quite often we just put it all in one basket, and mental health is, that just means mental illness. Well, no, you can have a mental illness, so you can have depression, you can have severe anxiety, but if well treated, well managed in a supportive environment, you can still be highly functioning and you can still have good mental health. So it's important to distinguish between mental health and mental illness, rather than putting them into one basket. And also, you're a workplace that reduces stigma and discrimination. So there's some of the things that a mentally healthy workplace will start to look like. And in terms of risk and compliance, so again, a lot clearer when it comes to, physical safety. So there is legislation that does support, whether it be mental health or whether it be workplace bullying and behaviour. So work health and safety eliminates and minimises risks to health and safety, as is reasonably practical. And I think, again, when you look at behaviour in the workplace, it's reasonably practical that people behave in a professional manner. That's where the legislation can come in there as well. So that's for employers. For employees, it's to take care of their own and others' health and safety, including their mental health and safety. Discrimination, so for employers, provide reasonable adjustments for employers as to not discriminate against workers. Employees able to fulfil inherent requirements of the job. So can you do your job? and so that's covered by the Discrimination Act. And I'm not going to go into too much detail. We have a lawyer speaking to us today, so I won't go into that into too much detail. And privacy. So there's prevalent disclosure of personal information. So you can have confidence in disclosing, and your information obviously is confidential. And employees must disclose if their mental health condition may cause a risk to somebody's safety. And again, that's where it does connect back with the Work Health and Safety Act as well. And generally bullying. So prevent repeated unreasonable behaviour that is a risk to health and safety as an employer. As employees, comply with reasonable management action. So there is law around this that does support you to take action to be a mentally healthy workplace. So I guess that's what we're trying to highlight there in that slide. So steps to success in terms of what a mentally healthy workplace might look like. Number one, raise awareness and improve understanding of mental health. So get the messages out there. Mental Health Week this week. Make sure you're being active over, community messages that are out there. Build on those in your workplace. Take action to reduce stigma. So have it as a normal conversation. Don't have it as something that's taboo in the workplace. Talk about suicide prevention. Talk about mental health. Support employees with mental health conditions. Be a supportive workplace. So people, again, we heard earlier on today, a really moving story about a lived experience in terms of someone that's had a mental health issue. They've also had open heart surgery and also survived breast cancer. So when it came to breast cancer, when it came to open heart surgery and a heart condition, it was very obvious how people treated her. It was very obvious, the support that she needed to get better. But when it came to, her mental health has been a long suffering journey, and it was a lot less clearer as to the support that people offered. And so, it's really important just to have it as a normal conversation. Support employee and also minimise risks associated with mental health. So make sure that mental health is on your risk register. It's a psychosocial hazard. So and Paul, I'm not going to steal Paul's thunder. He'll delve into that a little bit more in the next presentation. And so what actions can be taken to minimise risk factors? So identify those psychological risks within the workplace. Consult with your employees, really, really important, again, to have it as an open conversation. Have a steering committee, have management representation on there, have a wellbeing committee, have it linked with your health and safety committee. Run surveys as well as those focus group discussions with employees. Make sure your feedback results if you did do a risk assessment, make sure that people know the results of that. And have informal feedback and discussions as well. So really, collectively and through collaboration, you can really identify those psychological risks that that are within the workplace. And in terms of other relevant data sources, look at your staff turnover. Are you having exit interviews? Are you actually finding out why people are leaving the workplace? Overtime worked in terms of workload. Reporting from performance appraisals. EAP usage, injury, stress claims, grievance and complaints. There's a whole range of data sets there that you can draw on as an organisation to be better informed around the mental health of your business and your workplace. So this is just, again, an example of, a potential issue might be managing change in terms of communication, providing support, or it might be organisational justice in terms of procedural fairness or managing poor performance. So it's just really some possible solutions that you could identify. And I'll just take, just bearing in mind to get through this presentation, I'll just take a couple of examples. So it might be, let's go to managing poor performance down the bottom there. Second from the bottom, provide workers evidence for decisions about their work performance in terms of their solutions. So don't be afraid to manage performance. Managing performance is not bullying. It's a reasonable management action to actually expect a certain level of performance from your employees. So that's an important, and that Safe Work Australia did update their bullying guidelines in May this year, and it has some stronger language around what is reasonable management action. Again, and we'll go into, definitions of really clearly what is bullying and what isn't. And that's just really some solutions about some potential issues that you might have in your workplace. And so where do you start? So this is really looking at some valuable tools and resources. Heads up, it's a central point for business. It's simple, it's practical, it's free. There's resources for all individuals. It might be for workplaces, might be for individuals in terms of leaders or business owners, health and safety managers, HR, and even frontline staff. So really just a whole library of resources that are accessible. It's all free, and this is a central hub. And I guess your action plan can point you in the right direction. There's case studies, videos, tools and fact sheets, brochures and booklets. There's also the key tool out of that, as I mentioned, is the Heads Up Action Plan, and we'll detail that very shortly. So in terms of how to join, commit to creating a more mentally healthy workplace, identify a champion to take the lead, and it doesn't have to be the HR manager, it doesn't have to be the GM, it can be a champion within your workplace that's prepared to take this as a project and run with it. And communicate that with your people. So some really simple steps about how to join up. As I mentioned, it probably takes you a minute to get on there, and there's information on your tables about that. There's educational resources that exist on there, training programs, online programs. They are in the throes at the moment about developing some bullying training, which is quite relevant for today's audience. So look out for those types of resources. But just in general, creating awareness, some fantastic modules on there, all free, all accessible, and available for your workplace. So in terms of the action plan, identify and prioritise those risk factors, complete the interactive action tool, and that looks something like identifying priority areas, choose your actions and implement them, and review and share. So update it and have it as a guiding document to implementing being that mentally healthy workplace. And so how that might look, what are the potential risks to mental health in your workplace? So here you can see a whole range of risks that might exist. It might be challenging work hours, could be high emotional demands, could be lack of role clarity, could be bullying and poorly managed relationships. So there's a whole range of things there that you could highlight as potential issues in your workplace and identify those psychosocial hazards that may exist in your workplace that do need to be, controls do need to be put in place. And just ask you to fill in a short survey. The whole process probably takes 10 minutes. So give yourself a score, 1 to 3 in terms of those areas. So this particular example here is about increasing awareness and reducing stigma. So how aware is your organisation of the following? And give yourself a score of somewhere between 1 and 3, and that'll tailor your action plan to address those particular areas. So that's how easy the process is. So for those that haven't done it, really encourage you to do it to start that journey of creating a mentally healthy workplace. And that's where it can be found, headsup.org.au, very easy. It is also in the booklets that are around the room as well. And really just finally, to wrap it up, I'll get all that information there, but just some key strategies for linking health, safety and wellbeing. Can your health and wellbeing working group or your mentally healthy workplace working group, can it be attached to your health and safety committee? So don't have it out on its own, operating in isolation, really try and embed it in your organisation. Consider wellbeing as part of your safety procedures. So it might be, for example, encouraging employees to identify, assess and fix a wellbeing hazard as they would a safety hazard. So it might be sedentary roles, it could be excess workloads. If we're not having the conversations about those types of hazards, how can we put in place controls to address them? So really just some examples. So down the bottom there, your duty of care extends to ensuring that workers are safe from psychological harm while at work. So that's the duty of care. And while traditional EAP services sometimes come in after the fact, be more proactive with those types of interventions as well. So educate, promote, all those things that we talked about through the Heads Up process, have that as a conversation earlier on and being more proactive. And the most important reason for making your workplace safe, it's not at work, it's so people go home not only safe and all their limbs intact, we want to send them home mentally safe and mentally well. So they can enjoy that work-life balance outside of the actual workplace. So that's an important closing message there.